Hey everyone, I'm so excited to announce that part two of my episode with Corey Gray from the Your Day Off podcast officially dropped today. So I'm so excited about part two. In part one of the episode, we talk about everything that Corey is doing in the beauty industry, as well as how he ended up in Cambodia, working with hair aid. So we're going to continue that story and continue that conversation about what he's doing and how his life was transformed there, and all of the ways that you can be involved, all of the ways that this industry can take you to places that you have never imagined. This podcast episode is so entertaining. Corey is so great. So I hope you love it. Make sure that you follow us at Beauty School Bobbi, and make sure you're following along at Beauty and Style Network, and subscribe to all things. Okay, so you're taking this trip through the countryside, kind of changing your perspective on, what's going to work you up, what's going to make you upset, or like finding the positive, right? And being in gratitude in this. So this is day 3, day 4 for you being there.
So I got in on Monday night at like 11 p.m. So Tuesday I spent at the genocide. Wednesday I spent at the killing fields. And then, so this is Thursday, I think.
Okay, please tell me that it gets happy here at this point. No. Like, tell me that this day is not.
No, it was awesome. But, again, I think that you need this perspective, because your awesomeness is on the other side of like what's not so awesome, No,
like, it's so good. And I feel like you pushing yourself. That's why I was asking, like, what was it that made you go and do this? What was it that, was like, I'm going to push myself to go this? Because I would have a really hard time.
You should
seeing all of it and taking all of that in.
Okay. But again, if it wasn't for Matthew and said that this is perspective that you need this,
right.
You need to understand how resilient these people are. By understanding how resilient they are, it makes me more resilient. By understanding how patient they are, it makes me more patient. So like it's perspective, but it's not like this lame thing, how we talk about perspective. It's real, to show what humans can endure. And I don't mean like the trauma, but I mean the healing of it. What we can endure in healing. It opens me up to be like, I can be 1% better in this aspect because you're 100% better in this aspect.
Is it like weird to find hope in that? Is it like weird to be like this awful thing I've seen, felt, whatever? Is it like the immediate reaction isn't to be hopeful, but as you spend time there, like as you see the people, right? Like that should be hopeful. That should be. Yes, exactly. So I feel like without that, there would have been a misconnection. So I do think it's great that you did that. I think it's important to see the hard things. We can't just be like, oh, we couldn't even when these people lived it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you opened yourself up to, which I'm sure, from here at every interaction you had, like you said, just seeing people of a certain age and having a different understanding. I think that, the trip would have been different. Your interactions had to have been different from that point on of understanding where you were.
There's not one person that I had contact with in Cambodia that isn't directly affected by the genocide. Not one.
Yeah.
Like it's too soon that it didn't affect.
How did you talk to people about it?
Well, I mean, listen, I feel really, really bad for Liang because I had just come from the Genocide Museum and the killing fields, and then I spent 6 hours with them, and it was kind of, up to that moment, it was kind of my only experience in Cambodia. So, I totally grilled him about his family history and about how they survived and about all of that stuff. So, I feel really bad in hindsight.
I mean, are they openly discussing? Is everybody openly talking about it and their experience and all of those things? It's not like
it's not hidden.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's very much open. As a matter of fact, out of all of the temples that are in Cambodia and the Genocide Museum and the killing fields, if you're a Cambodian citizen, you visit all those things for free.
Wow.
Because, it's like this is because it's not seen it's not, and this is such an interesting perspective. It's not seen as the country's history. It's seen as the people's history, which is such a different
It's
kind of
really
like,
interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It's
like
different.
think about the stuff. I mean, I live in Washington D.C., so that's a little bit different because almost everything is free here. Thank you to the Smithsonian. But if you go around this country and anything that you visit, like a museum or history or whatever, there's always like commerce. There's always like like money to they're always collecting money. Now, as a Westerner, I had to pay to get in. But if you're a Cambodian citizen, this is your history. You can't charge for your own history and your own understanding. It's kind of, which I also find like very interesting as well.
I do too. Yeah, no, I really like that a lot. I think that that's, again, not knowing if it's, if it's a secret, if it's something, we don't talk about it. We can't, my mom, my dad, my whatever, like I think it's really, really cool that it is so open.
And yeah, like I said, everybody is like, they talk about it, but they're also very proud of their country. Like if you're like, oh my gosh, I love Cambodia, you get a real grateful thank you from anybody. Like I can't imagine anybody saying, oh, I love the United States, and your reaction is like a super like grateful, like, oh, thank you, and maybe we should be better at that. I don't know, but it was just really nice that it was like it was a personal compliment when you said you love the country.
That's
Which is different.
awesome.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about where you went from
Okay, so
there. So
I
you're
went to Siem
driving.
Reap. I went to Siem Reap. Now, just for a little perspective, Phnom Penh is very much, it's the capital city. It's big, it's busy, it's very, very like, like you go to you drive through an intersection, there's 1,000 people that converge. There's not really stoplights. There's not really stop signs. And as a matter of fact, if there is a stop sign, if you stop, you're probably not going to move again because everyone's just going to work their way around you. Very, very busy. And nobody cared that you were there in the best of ways. Right. Like they had other stuff to do. It's like going to Manhattan. Like you walk the streets, nobody cares that you're there. You're just there, that's Phnom Penh. Siem Reap is different. Siem Reap is the religious center or the spiritual center of the country. I don't think we have a comparison in the U.S. or if we do, I don't know what it is. It's real spiritual history. It's where the temples are. The temples were built over 1,000 years ago. They're in unbelievable condition for being 1,000 years old. They're also in unbelievable conditions considering they changed religions midway through the temples. Most of the temples were built as Hindu temples. And then about 200 years later, they became Buddhist temples, and they didn't do it in destruction. They did it in welcoming, meaning like, whatever history shows, that if there's a regime or religious change that they tear down all the old temples and they build their own temples. That's not what Cambodia is. Cambodia is very open to both religions. And although I think it's like 96% Buddhist at this point, there's still tons and tons of Hindu representation there. There's Shivas everywhere. There's like, the Buddhas with the 55 arms and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a blend of the two, but it's definitely a Buddhist country. And that's apparent when you're in Siem Reap. It's the people are, they care that you're there. They care that you've come to visit their country. They care that you're coming to visit the temples, and that it's just really good. Now, we were there because it's also poverty stricken. It's critical poverty. It's stuff that it's stuff that you see. It's very much a third world in that sense as well.
So your perspective being there, you're going in with, again, a better understanding of the country, where everyone has been, what they've come from. What are your interactions like? Who are you talking to, and what are the ones that are standing out that you still think about?
I mean, you're certainly, I mean, we stayed at a hotel, so you're certainly like, interacting with those. You're interacting with the tuk-tuk drivers and the people that were in the vans and stuff. You're definitely interacting with those people. I mean, honestly though, Bobbi, I mean, to get ahead of ourselves a little bit, is that, the people that stand out most are the people that we got to help. This is now Thursday, and then the actual Hair Aid project started on Monday. We did some tourist stuff on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then the project start. As far as that tourist stuff goes, we visited Angkor Wat, which is the largest religious temple in the world. It was built 1,000 years ago. it's absurd. I can't even explain to you how big it is until you actually experience it. You know, it's the outer wall is like 4 miles in diameter. You know, it's just like, it's crazy. It's just crazy how big it is. And we visited Tay Prom. Tay Prom is also known as a Tomb Raider temple. It's where Tomb Raider was recorded. It's also the temple where trees are growing through the temple, and it's like the most magical kind of thing you could like see. I encourage everybody to go and check. Just Google like Tomb Raider temple, and you'll see it. It's marvelous. It's way cool when you're standing there. You know, it hits different when you're standing there, and you're getting to experience that. We went to an elephant sanctuary, so we walked, you know, with elephants we literally hiked with elephants through the forest. You know, they wasn't behind a gate or anything. It was just us, you know. And actually, there was this one time, Bobbi, I was leaning against this tree, and the elephant came to the tree to scratch its back. So I kind of had to like slide and like, remember that twist that we opened up with? Yeah, I kind of had to twist around the tree there because the elephant could care less that I was there. You know, he probably would have crushed my skull or whatever. But yeah, that was cool, and that it was up close and personal and all that good stuff. And you know, I do want to say, and now that I'm setting it up this way, it sounds disingenuous, but it was absolutely the truth, is I got really emotional the whole time because I'm a hairdresser, Bobbi. Like, there's nothing in a hairdresser's resume that says we should travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in a hairdresser's resume to say that we're going to see one of the 8 wonders of the world. Like, it's just, it moved me so much that I'm here because I'm a hairdresser.
Mm-hmm.
Not for any other reason other than I'm a hairdresser. You know, and just like that hit me. I mean, honestly, like I cried at the killing fields because I'm like, it was a heavy, heavy time, but also like, man, like I'm a hairdresser and I'm here. Like, how does that happen? You know, when I was on top of Angkor Wat, it was the same kind of emotion. Like, I'm a hairdresser. Like, I shouldn't be here. There's nothing in the world that says I'm here. And like, it almost feels like survivor's guilt, but it wasn't really guilt, but it was just survivor's understanding, you know, and just like, I don't know. I don't know why it's me.
Yeah.
But man, I'm going to make the best of it.
But you know what I love is a lot of times I hear people say that, you know, this career can take you anywhere and you can be blah, blah, blah. And like you can travel the world and whatever. But it's never in this way, Corey. Like it is always in, oh, you could be on a stage with a brand and wherever, right? And that is like not what happened in your situation. It's a completely different experience. That's what I think is so amazing about this. Like that is what I love.
I never have stood in front of, well, as a student in hair school, we never had a guest artist that didn't say, you can do anything with this career. You know, never have I been in front of students now and you don't hear that. That's part of the speech that everybody gives these like up and coming, like, you know, beauty professionals or future professionals here. You know, what I thought that meant was, oh, you can do highlights and you can do manicures and you can do massages. Like this career, you can do anything you want with this career. You can do makeup. You can do it all. You can do it all in this career. What I didn't realize is what I experienced is that it's taken me around the world, you know, and it's taken me around the world by playing by my rules, right? Like, it's not like I'm not representing a brand and going around the world. I'm going around the world as Corey because I'm Corey, the hairdresser. You know,
it's the more important message, Corey. Like, I don't want to miss this. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. This is exactly what is different about you, is different about this experience, is that it was in this way. I love it so much. I want more of this. I want more people to have these opportunities because you're growing yourself. It's not growing a brand or growing whatever. Like it truly is just growing you. And I think that's the most important thing for you to be able to be there in that way. That's what changed you. That's why you can sit here today and say, I'm better than I was. I'm doing great. You know, I'm trying and working on it. Here I am. It's not because you had 8,000 people in a class that are cheering your name, Corey. Like that's the beauty of this. That's the difference.
Yeah. And like the experience that I have, I was 1000% responsible for the experience that I had. right? Like there was
Mhm.
nothing,
Right.
and through perspective, through whatever, like it's all on me, you know,
Mhm.
and that was a daily conversation. That was a daily, like, how are you showing up today? You know, starting on that Monday and when the actual project started, like my only goal and all I did for that 40 hours that week was to be there in service. In service
Mhm.
doesn't mean to anybody else in the room but the people that you're servicing. It doesn't mean you, doesn't mean your ego, it doesn't mean what you thought it should be or the way that you feel that it should be. None of that is important when you're in true service. When you're in true service, it's about the people that you're servicing, and
Mhm.
how can you make this moment better for them. Um, and that was kind of the magic of that, as far as like, but to bring it full circle, all that happens in surrender. All that happens in, like, if your ego's in touch, or if you're controlled by your ego, you're controlled by what you think should be or what could be, or how it should be. Like if that's top of mind, then you're not really there in true service. As far as I'm concerned, you're in there for something else to there's something else to fire you up, but it's not the surrender of the service
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
surrender to the service.
absolutely. That
Yeah.
intention and being aware of that and actually being cognitive of, I think that this is something that obviously like Mark and I talk about a lot. I mean, we're raising 2 kids and we are hyper aware of our purpose and intention and all of those things, right? Like gratitude and just all of it. Like every day just trying to be better, trying to be better and not in the way of like we're just trying to be perfect and trying to, it's not that. It's like we need to be better for ourselves. And we need to, fix the things that we know we need to let go of, surrender. And that's why, hearing you even talk about it is like, I mean, we just know that we're being pushed in some way to let go. And
Great.
to
The
hear that.
greatest gift the greatest gift that anybody can give themselves is also the greatest gift that they can give their family. And that's full regulation. And that's regulating your emotions, regulating your mood, regulating how you show up every day. Like this part of my life, I very much believe in medium. Like I want to be medium. I don't want to be too high. I don't want to be too low. I just want to be consistent,
Hmm.
and to be regulated in that. I to not have emotional outcome, to not have to just, I mean, the best way is to say regulated is just to stay regulated as best you can and understand that that's going to serve you and the greater good, the best, or your family. It's just going to serve you
Hmm.
the best is by staying regulated.
Do you think had you not been, what do we call it? Like dysregulated is the word, but like
Mhm.
if you hadn't spent time in that space, right? Because I feel like, I don't know, you kind of have to be in that a little bit to understand the beauty
Well,
of
no,
being regulated, right?
no, not necessarily. I mean, I've been regulation or regulating my emotions. I've been pretty aware of for the last 20 years. For a long time until my mid 30s, I didn't care about it. Didn't know what that looked like. Didn't know what regulating
Hmm.
that work looked like. A little backstory: my wife and I were high school sweethearts. So, from the time that we were in high school till the time in our mid 30s, we fought ugly. We never like, I didn't date Bobbi at 26, and Bobbi was going to go, "You're not going to talk to me that way. You're not going to
Hmm.
treat me that way." Like, we didn't have that kind of like growth, because when we started dating at 17 and 18 years old, like what we knew at 17 or 18 never evolved. It's because,
Right.
so for whatever, however many years, almost 20 years there, we fought ugly and we fought gross and all that stuff. And then, I'm gonna point the camera to me, but I think it was mutual at the time. Is at 35, I was like, I'm done fighting. Like, we fought enough and we fought ugly enough for a lifetime of fighting. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And if she wants to fight, this is my own conversation, my own headspace. But if she wants to fight, she can fight by herself. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to engage in it. And then that kind of started, like this is okay. I'm just going to stay regulated, because my goal in life is to be regulated. My goal in life is not to be right. My goal in life is to be regulated. My goal in life is not to be perfect. And
Hmm.
then so, again, for the last 20 years, I've tried like heck to be regulated. I want to be, if I worked for you, Bobbi, I want to be the most consistent person that's ever worked for you. I never want, if you have to have a tough conversation with me, I never want you to think you can't have that conversation with me because I'm going to bug out. You know, I want you to go like, you know what? He's going to get it, or
Mm-hmm.
he's going to give me the time, you know? And part of that practice is too, is that, I had to give up reacting. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
much rather respond to energy than to react to energy. Reactions, I've never had a positive outcome when I've reacted. I've had nothing but positive outcomes when you respond, you know, and that doesn't mean you have
Yeah.
to agree, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
reacting just doesn't serve.
It's big, Corey. Like it's really big to know that that's a space that as an adult you need to get to. Now, like I think, like I mean, as soon as you can get there, but I also feel like there's a part of me that's like, you know, I want to be that example for my kids and for them, you know, to, I mean, Mark is the literal most chill human being on the planet. Like we
Yeah,
are so different in reactions. Like I'm Italian. Like I, you know, grew up
but
in a
that's all,
very,
but Bobbi, that's all bullshit. You know,
what?
just, I'm Italian. I need to react. That's not true.
No, I'm saying, hang on, let me finish that. I
Okay.
grew up in a highly reactive family.
Yeah.
So, because of those, you know, the way that the families interacted with each other and the way that my parents interacted and whatever, it was a very high tempered, high reaction. Everything was a big deal. Everything was a law. And we just had completely different experiences, you know, growing up, and our homes were different and all of those things. So, where I feel like I have to fight like, ugh, like I want to, you know, like you have to know that like how you're raised, and what is normal in that home, especially the negative things cannot be carried into. And so that is work. Like that is something that you truly have to like stop yourself, from being like, oh, well, this happened and you, whatever, like we're going to fly off the handle because that's what everyone did. You know, like that's, you know, again, you bring those things into the relationship, but at some point you have to say like, wait a minute. And that happens in adulthood, right? It happens when you leave the home and when you're like all of these years of being like, wait, that's not what everybody did. That's not how everyone grew up. Like, what
Right.
do you mean? And I think that those things are important. The sooner that you can realize that, the sooner that you can be intentional about those things, the better.
Anyone still listening in though, I mean, I would ask yourself this question: have I ever reacted to a situation and gotten a positive outcome? It might feel
Mm-hmm.
right at the time. Oh boy,
Yeah.
did I show her? Oh boy, did they learn from there? But what's the bigger impact of that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I showed her. What's the big picture? Is that good for the marriage or is that good for the moment?
Woo. Yeah. No, that's like such a good way to like to start thinking about it even. To even if you, cause I mean, it's not overnight. So there are times that now I can be like, wait, that was how old me would have reacted. Like that's not who I want to be. Right. And so setting those intentions of who you want to be, that was the thing that changed in our marriage of when we first like, when we sat down and we were like, wait a minute, okay, something's not working. We're not showing up in the best way that we want to. Mark, who do you want to be? Who do I want to like? And we have to figure that out individually. Right. And then we need to come together and be like, okay, well, this is who I am. This is who I'm trying to be. This is my goal. Like, I don't want to be a wife that like nags or is whatever. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to show up in that way. Or whatever the situation is, you know, it changes. But making sure that you're identifying that, I think, is the biggest thing. Like, who are you? Who does Corey want to be today?
You know,
What does that look like?
it's really interesting because for years, probably since about my mid 30s, like I've had this person that lives right here above my right shoulder, and that's me. It's the most perfect version of me. And it's like, how does that person interact with the world? How does that person absorb conversation? How does that person, whatever that perfect, the absolute most godly perfect version of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
for me lives above my right shoulder, and that's how I look. That's how I look to, like, how does that person show up? Can I be
Mm-hmm.
closer to that person? Listen, I fail 90% of the time of who that person is, but that person, that me is my guiding light. And this person knows how to be perfect. So I just have to strive to be whatever that sense of perfect is. I really understood, when Matthew McConaughey won Best Picture. or best actor, he talked about like his version 10 years from now. I understood that to my core because I've tried to live that for the last 20 years. Like I understand that like, oh, I'm just seeking the best version of myself, and the best version of myself is this. Now I will say this, part of that practice is you must have the conversation about what the most perfect version of yourself is. Are you calm under pressure? Mm-hmm. Are you thankful? Are you grateful? You have to have those conversations when you're not turned on, mm-hmm. and in real like calm kind of brain,
Yeah.
I give the benefit of the doubt to just about everybody because I want this person to give the benefit of the doubt to just about everybody. Mm-hmm. And I get daily, I get closer and closer to that perfect version, but I'm never going to be perfect. Yeah. I'm never going to be that person that lives above me. But man, it's my life goal to like strive towards that perfection.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to say rare quality, but it is something that we talk about a lot, that Mark and I will have conversations about is finding other people that are doing that same thing. I have no interest. I don't know if you feel this way, especially because you've met so many people, right? Like you get to a point where like, how many people can we meet and how, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it feels like we're just always surrounded by so many people and meeting new people and all those things. I want to meet the people that are trying to be better. Like I'm done. And not that we don't have time. I want to be a light to everybody. I'm really interested in spending time with people that are trying also, that are looking for something more, want something more, controlling, like, what they're consuming, like those kinds of things. That intention is just more valuable and more valuable, like every single day to me.
I couldn't agree with you more. Once again, how we started the conversation is that I know in 5 years is going to be dictated by what I consume or who I hang out with. Mm-hmm. And I want to hang out with more, again, I think the word you said is perfect, is more intentional people, mm-hmm. with that intent, especially like when, kind of like when you look around the world now and I feel like there's just this big, like, there's this big miss in integrity and there's this big miss in empathy. Like if empathy ever goes out of style, I'm a mess because I don't know mm-hmm. how I operate, and it's very natural to me to operate in empathy as well. So anyways, I don't know how we got there, but
I want to circle back though, because I want to finish like the Cambodia part of this. And I want to talk about what that did for you there and, what, every day are you journaling? Are you like any more in?
Here's what's interesting is I journaled all the way up until the project started. And the reason I stopped journaling, not that there's a reason, but the reason I didn't carry on was honestly is like, it was just so intense every day. And we went mm-hmm. really long, like because we would do classes all day. So we'd get up at like, 6 or 7 in the morning, we'd do classes all day. Then we'd come back and debrief. And then we'd have a little like, like happy hour kind of thing. And then we went out to dinner as a group. So by the time I got home, to be honest, I was just exhausted. And by teaching all day too, it's incredible. It was emotionally draining as well. So I had the best intentions to journal, but I just honestly, I never got around to it. But like I'm perfect up till the day that the class started, but that was it. So there were 21 hairdressers from around the world. There were 6 locations, and then so they split us up into teams, and we each went to a different location. You had a home location, so this is where you would spend the majority of the week. However, on Wednesday and or Thursday, they switch us around into different projects, areas or spaces. I started off the week in probably the most perfect place I possibly could have. I was in a Cambodian village community center. We had 32 learners there, and we were able to. It was outdoors, so it was very, very hot and all that good groovy stuff. But it was also a school, so at noon, school started. So you had the cutest little like kindergarten age kids in uniform come and show up. And what was told to me is that everybody gets an hour, so they only have an hour of class each day. I mean, I don't know whether it was because we were at a community center or because we were there. Because trust you me, at 6'1", bearded and tattooed, nobody in Cambodia looks like me. But I felt very observed if I was there. Eyes were on me a lot. Well,
you all get 1 hour with this man to look at him and to touch his beard and to ask him questions.
all the things. But then what would happen? So at noon, at 1 o'clock, like there'd be a couple kids there, and then they never left. So by 4 or 5 o'clock when we were leaving, there were seemed like there was hundreds of kids there, just kind of hanging out, and it was just like so heartfelt as well,
Yeah.
And in the midst of all of that, we're also training and teaching, and we're teaching adults, how to cut hair. It's incredibly intense, Bobbi, and I bet what I'm about to say next, you're not going to believe me, but I promise you it's the truth. We taught 6 haircuts in 4 days. And like you would think like in the US, like that would take 6 months to do. Like it just, but here's the quote that I made when I was there. And it's the quote that I stand by is when opportunity is your only distraction, you learn. When all you're distracted by is opportunity. We're not there next week. We are Big Brother. Not Big Brother. We are the saviors here for the next 4 days. After this, we're not here. Well, your focus has to be intentional. Your focus has to be there. And what was incredible is like, even if we were teaching like we started off with like a 1 length, even when you're teaching a 1 length, like, I'm generally speaking, of course, but you teach it, or if they made a mistake, like they only made the mistake once and then they got it and then they moved on.
Because they know that you're only there for a limited amount of time also. So they're probably in the same mindset of like, I got to take advantage of this. He's not coming back next, so that's great that both of you are like, everyone is synced in that way. And having that intention, you really can take care of a lot, and quickly too. So, now when you're teaching, are they asking questions? What about this? Or, is it just like, demonstrate, go?
Luckily, so you open up with a demo, right? And then from there, they go straight to models. Like nobody has mannequins. It's straight to models.
And first of all, wild. That's wild.
Well, I will tell you this. So my lead there, her name is Georgie. She's like this brilliant Australian woman.
Cute.
She's this brilliant woman who happens to be Australian. But she's also like, she's firm, I think is the best way to say it. And when we arrived there Monday morning, she's like, well, where are your models? Because there was no models there. There was just the learners there. And she, had a very honest conversation. And she was like, you've got 20 minutes to get models here, or we're packing up and going, because you're going to learn nothing if you don't have models, and because it's an NGO, because it's a nonprofit, we don't have mannequins. We don't have a lot of mannequins that we can kind of like, give out, it just becomes expensive, for the NGO. So yeah, sure enough, man, they picked up their phones and they picked up their whatevers. And, about 15 minutes later, these 6 ladies came in ready for haircuts. It was the most magical thing you'd ever seen. You know what I mean?
Like the amount of trust in that is just absolutely wild to me.
Yes. Thank you. You're absolutely correct. So yeah, that was, it was amazing. So we did 6 techniques, and out of the 6 techniques, they had to show that they could do it twice. So they had to do 2 haircuts. So again, it's 4 days. The project's 5 days, but essentially it's 4 days. It's like Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday was kind of graduation day. So you get some stuff done, but for the most part, it was graduation day. But yeah, they had to do each haircut twice. So that's 12 haircuts in 4 days. That's crazy. And like, there's zero experience. Like, the first hours, like, here's how you hold shears. Here's how you hold shears safely. Here's how you use a comb. Here's how you drape somebody. It was like, like, I'm sure day 1 of what your school is, or, whatever, as you're going on the floor. And then that was it. And then you teach a haircut. And then, luckily when we were there though, they teach English at the school. So we had tons and tons of translators.
Oh,
so,
that's so helpful.
It was so helpful.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So like it was, and I didn't realize this until late in the week, but a lot of the people that we were teaching actually went to the school as well. So they had a little bit of an understanding of English. However, I think a lot of them preferred Khmer, only because it's hard to learn and to like speak a second language that you're not super confident about, especially with native speakers, right? With us, So, but I found out like on graduation day that most of them, had at least an understanding of English, which was, I was like, well, that would have been helpful if you let us know at the beginning of the week.
Yeah.
But, you know, what do you do? You got to meet them where they're at, not where you're at.
Right. And so you have this time where you're sharing again through hair, and getting this opportunity to really share your craft, the thing that you love, the thing that you're passionate about. You're able to do that. I know it's going quickly. There's a lot of curriculum, being covered, hair cutting being covered in this time. What's it like to end it? What's it like to say goodbye to these
Oh,
people that
well,
you've been
yeah.
with?
Before we get there, before we get to Friday, I mean, I think it's also important that on Wednesday I switched locations. And this place that where I went on Wednesday was about opposite of the school in the community center. I was for the day I was in a very third world Cambodian prison. And I had 12 learners that were in the room with me as well. And that was the opposite. That was the illiteracy rate was beyond lower than you can even imagine. I didn't work there on Monday, but my friend Gino worked there on Monday. And like when he handed out the cards for people to write their name, like most of the people didn't even know how to write their name on the card. And they didn't, a lot of the people didn't know if they were left or right handed. So as we were like giving out shears, and I don't know if this is fact, but I heard it. So we'll go with it as fact. I think Cambodia has the most left-handed people in the world per capita. Right. So it's not like, oh, you're left-handed. It's like we had to plan for like, oh, there's a good chance that, half the people are going to be left-handed or whatever. But that being said, like they didn't know if they were left or right-handed because they'd never held a pencil or a pen. Right. So, and these are adults, these are not,
Right.
These are not like kindergartners. How they learned, the guys in the prison, like it very much felt like first grade, like the way that they learned, like you would celebrate like the most mundane things. They cut a straight line with the shear, and the shear only cut straight lines. But if they cut a straight line with the shear, you would celebrate them like they won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was it. And that's how they fired up. And that's what got them there. It was probably the most stressful day of my life, but also the most rewarding day of my life.
I know. I was thinking, I'm like, I have so many more questions about that day. Like that seems so intense.
Well, you have to imagine there's 12 guys in the room. They all have shears in their hands, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a hair salon, it's a long, thin room with no mirrors. So, you stand at the front of the class, you put your back to them and you're teaching a hair cutting technique. That day we were doing long layers. So, you're teaching them like a long layer haircut. And honestly, for 2 hours, I was sweating bullets, not just because it was hot, but because, I was pretty nervous, pretty scared. Like every prison movie I'd ever seen, was every prison movie I'd ever seen was top of mind. And whenever you watch these podcasts.
Did only the men go? The men
No,
on the
there were
trip
women.
go to the men's prison?
No. As a matter of fact, I was in there with this woman named Jerry, who was this 69-year-old Australian woman who's about 5 feet tall. So she would have been the big barrier between me and like losing my life. When we were there. But
wow.
But yeah, like I was honestly for 2 hours, I was so incredibly scared and anxious, anxiety ridden, and all that was there. And honestly, where I landed was like, well, Gino's been here for 2 days. He's still alive. So my goal is not to piss anyone off. And that I went back to the mantra and like, I am here to serve. If this is my, if this is my duty to serve. If I happen to lose my life today, that was it. That was in the act of service. And that's why I'm here. Not that I was wishing for any of these things, but the truth is that, it's like, I'm here to serve. How do I serve these people right now? And I had conceded that I could die today. And believe it or not, once I conceded that I could die today, which I think is far fetched, but I could die today. Like that also let me relax because it was no longer the fear of what could. It was just, it could, whatever. So about 2 hours later, honestly, I felt really relaxed. I was like, all right, this is it. We're going to do this. We're going to do this thing. Here's what I realized, Bobbi, and this is the life lesson from it. How often have we entered a room, brought all of our energy and blamed the room? Not one guy in there made me feel that way. The only person that made me feel that way is me. And I brought all that energy to the room. And, I can probably think daily or at least weekly of how I've entered a room, how I've blamed my energy on the room. And that was the life lesson there.
When did that hit you though? When does all of
That
this start to like fall into place for you? Cause you're in it there, right?
yeah,
That's why I was asking about like the journaling, the reflection. When does this all start to
that
be like
that
come to
two
together?
things happened. So we had a 2 hour lunch at the prison. I don't know why. Maybe they were feeding the other prisoners or whatever. I don't know, but we had to leave for 2 hours. And on the tuk-tuk ride back to Siem Reap, because it was about 25 minutes outside of Siem Reap. On the tuk-tuk ride back, two things I realized is A, that I brought all that energy, and I wasn't going to show up the afternoon like that. It was my reset. It was my yeah, I was able to reset in there. And there was no translators, there was no guards in the room. So the guys that were in the room, they started teaching me the Khmer words that I needed to teach them. And I thought, I go, on the rawest like interaction, like people are designed to communicate.
Yeah.
And somehow we figure it out.
Mhm.
And that touched me on the same ride back. So those two things hit me, coming back from lunch is A, like on the rawest level, we were designed to communicate and we figure it out. And,
Mhm.
how I enter a room isn't the room's fault. And it was that self accountability to that as well.
Yeah, that I think if any lesson, and there's a lot, there's notes here in this episode, but I think that is a really attainable, really good, logical place to start for somebody if they're going to start thinking about reactions, how they carry themselves, what role, whatever. I think that right there, how you enter the room, it's not the room's fault. Like all of that, I think is a really, really easy place to start looking and to start thinking about. And I think it's something that everyone can do. I think that we can all, take note of that for the people that want to change and want to get better and want to start somewhere on this, this journey. And I love that message, and I love that it was there that it really hate you.
Yeah, because there's nothing, because I got to the point where there was nothing else that I could blame it on.
Right.
Right. Like it wasn't a language thing. Like nobody was offending me. Like, and if they were, I couldn't understand them anyways. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, when I
Yeah.
left there, I was like, nobody brought any of this to the room,
Yeah.
except for circumstance that I was there.
Mhm.
And that all of that anxiety, like, cause I was blaming the room at first, like, oh, and then, once again, the mantra had to be like, I'm here to serve. This is how I'm going to serve today.
Yeah.
I think I served those guys the best that I knew how in those moments. And I don't know if any of that had to do with the haircut, because I had
Mhm.
also made the goal that like, I'm just going to celebrate these guys. Cause I got the sense that none of them had ever been celebrated as individuals. So I was like, I'm just going to celebrate these guys as individuals and be very, very proud of them and see them. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, all any of us ever care about is being seen and being heard. And if I
Mhm.
and if I could take that moment to let them know that I see them, I couldn't hear
Yeah.
them. I mean, I could hear them, but I didn't understand them.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but if I can see you, then that's how I can serve today.
Yeah.
Whether it has
Now,
to do
this
with hair.
obviously was life changing for you, and you were able to take it, not as a vacation, not as this trip where you're going to be able to share and like talk about how like all this good, like you really took this to heart, and that's so clear. I mean, just us talking about it when we were together in Chicago, like this was a big moment for you. And so tell me about I know some lessons hit you there. Tell me about the come down from all of this. Tell me about the ways that it still shows up for you, and what that process was like coming back and not just being angry at every American that you saw that was complaining about their coffee being cold or whatever it is. Tell me about that.
Um. Well, again, once you live in gratitude, like none of that has space for you. Like
Mhm.
somebody else's cold coffee, like I don't absorb that.
Mhm.
It just it doesn't matter to me, because I feel like I'm living on a different plane, or I was living on a different plane, I should say. I was really, really, really good for about 2 months after I came back, and then these feelings become more and more fleeting. Like, you just can't hold on to the feelings, or at least I'm trying, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how to do that. But for about 2 months, I did really, really good and could kind of stay in that same kind of like, I left a part of me in Cambodia, and Cambodia left a part of me, or left a part of them in me as well, you know.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when now I'm better at identifying it and going like, oh, okay, like I want to get back to like my Cambodia self, you know. And again, it is fleeting, but it gives me something a little bit, gives me something to hold on to a little bit. I don't, I don't, I just have way more understanding, like I don't, other people, I try not let to affect me with anything other than empathy,
Mhm.
whatever, whomever it is, you know, I just try to, I try to enter the world. I'm better at it. I mean, I've always been pretty empathetic and been pretty like, seeing people, for what they've been through as opposed to how they show up. But,
And how are you sharing that in the industry right now?
I don't know. I think I go on Bobby's podcast or something. And talk about it. I don't know. These aren't my goals. My goals aren't my goals is just to live as peacefully as I can, and hopefully like, you can't force anyone there. You can't walk anyone. What's the saying? You can lead a horse to water. Like,
Mhm.
that's it. I mean, if you find my experience inspiring, then bravo. If you think I'm full of shit, that could be true too. But
Mhm.
I'm not affected by any of that stuff, or I don't feel pressure to do that. I feel only pressure to live my best life the best way that I know how. And if that inspires you, awesome. If not,
Yeah. Well, I love that so much. I'm so thankful for this time that we had to talk about this. I think it's really, really incredible. Now, the organization, where can we, do you know where we can follow Hair Aid, find out more information, donate if it's something that we're interested in? I'm sure if anyone is listening, thinking about doing a trip like this, I know that you would be open to talking and sharing and all of that.
I mean, they certainly can reach out to me on Instagram. It's Hairdustry, Hairdustry. Or you can go to Hair Aid Charity, so at Hair Aid Charity. And if you have any questions, honestly, they have like an auto DM. So just hit them up in the DMs, and then they'll give you all the information there as far as like how to contact them and how to do that. A couple things about it is, I did a GoFundMe fundraiser. I highly recommend everyone to do that. My clients and were very, very generous with helping me get there. That's important too. It does cost money
Mhm.
to do it. It is expensive to get there. My flight was almost $3,000. You should raise money to try to get there. If you want, I'll give you my GoFundMe, like, the words that I use that help me raise money for that. Or it's hairaid.au, I think. It's an Australian charity. .au. Something like that. But honestly, I would just hit them up on DMs, and then they'll get back in touch with you, or you can figure out how to do it from there. But yeah, it's a great organization. They have projects. Actually, literally, as we're speaking here, last Friday was graduation day in Guatemala. I definitely had the FOMO, because
Aw.
once you do it, you want to do it.
I was gonna ask you if like what the future, like, are you planning on doing more of this?
I think well, two things is, one is like, I'd love to get back to Cambodia. If that's with Hair Aid, awesome. If it's not with Hair Aid, awesome. I would definitely love to do Guatemala. Guatemala is just easy. From me, it's about a
Mhm.
4-hour flight, and it's one time zone different. So, it's easy to do. You can do it
Mhm.
kind of, you don't have to be there for 18 days, for Cambodia, which is 11 hours difference from my home, and, a 25-hour flight. It's a lot of adjustment before the project. And I want to make sure that I was my best self, showing up as my best self, for it. And I wanted to see stuff, I wanted to do some of the tour stuff. But Guatemala is definitely, I think, in my future. I'm thinking like, I think October 27 is my goal to do Guatemala. Again, easier, cheaper flights. I think I looked up a flight. It was under $500 round trip. You know what I mean? Which is way different than 3,000
Yeah.
for that. So yeah, that's definitely my future, at least it's in my future goals, if not my actual future. So they do
Yeah.
Guatemala, they do Indonesia, they do Cambodia, they do the Philippines, and someplace else that I'm forgetting. But basically they're all over Southeast Asia. And honestly, it's a great way to see Southeast Asia too. I would take the time to
Mm-hmm.
do the project, and take some time, see the temples, make it worth it for you, and not just about the service as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, Corey, thank you so much for sharing so much. I feel like we got so deep on this podcast, which is great. And again, I'm just thankful for a way that you're able to share a different way to be in this industry, to, a different way to give back, a way that, that you're thinking right now. I think that that's just so awesome that you are so honest and open about sharing what you're thinking, what you're going through, how these transformations are happening, and encouraging all of us to show up better. And like I said, there's a lot of points I've seen Mark like taking notes as we've been talking. I know there's some key messages here that I really hope that, even if we dive into it again or can talk more, but these pieces are important for life. This isn't just like how to, be the best in the beauty industry. It's really, man, like we've just got to figure out a different way here. And I think a lot of people are searching. I think a lot of people in this industry that we cross paths with are looking. And I really, really am thankful that you shared this, especially because my audience is mostly younger. And I think the sooner that we can all, even if it's not something you implement right now, if it's something that's in the back of your mind, to just start thinking about a different way. Maybe you've never met someone that has these views and these ideas. I think it's just so awesome to start having these conversations and to have them openly.
Well, I think so often in my time, in my life, like sometimes I was looking for permission, right? I was
Mhm.
looking for permission to change. I was looking for permission to do that, and I seeked it, right? Like I seek that permission. So, man, if there's any part of my life that's encouraging, or you need it as permission, please use it as permission, and don't think that it's weird, because we're all looking for that. Oh, this can be a different way that we do things. Oh, this can be a different way that we think about these things. Oh, there is a different way to show up. Like use whatever you can for permission. Just understand that it's okay to be selfishly selfish at times as well. And again, the most selfless thing that you can do is to be selfish for a while and kind of figure your own stuff out, because you
Yeah.
serve everyone else much better.
Yes, 1000%. Well, thank you so much, Corey. I'm so thankful we got to talk today and got to hang out. It was a great little addition to my Monday.
Awesome, Bobbi. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me come on and having the conversation. And now we actually got the chat for more than like 2 seconds.